Cheating Death podcast is a satirical program containing objective information about anything and everything under the sun. We are transparent, we are direct, and we are to the point. We are not political, we are not religious, we are merely analytical and perhaps a bit prodigious. For when you take time to see just how much we fight to live every day, dear listeners, you will understand why cheating death is the only option that is required in order for you to reach the heights that you would like to see from the echelons above and to the plateaus below. You are listening to the Cheating Death podcast. On today's episode of the Cheating Death podcast, we provide insight on why Charlie Kirk was an asshole, a bad person, a charlatan, an individual in whom did absolutely nothing to progress the state of our social discourse or how we handle divisive behavior. For you see, this episode specifically is going to identify exactly what character flaws and what particular lies this man told in order to captivate a bunch of individuals in whose minds were open to manipulation. We also provide you with an all-new Annihilation Announcement, an all-new joke of the episode, a top 5 list of our favorite American bears, and much, much more, dear listener. We implore you to head on over to Instagram.com/backroomcomedyclub, like, share, and subscribe, and head on down to one of their shows any day of the week, Wednesday through Sunday, 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Give our friend Darren Burke a follow at the links in the episodes and podcast description, as well as our friend and comedian Alex Burke. Give him a follow at the links in the episodes and in the podcast description as well. And dear listeners, please rest assured that if you find yourself in a world that is filled with hostility, you must find the best utility. For you know what to do by now. Grab your iced coffee and put your feet up, because it is time for us to tell you how you can cheat death. This is your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this is your Annihilation Announcement. Over the years, the Republican and Democratic parties have switched sides both theologically as well as politically in terms of where their stance lies on various issues. Most people aren't aware that the current modern-day Republican Party is actually the very same party that Abraham Lincoln was established with and helped free people from misery. People also choose to forget that the current modern-day Democratic Party was systemic in initiating the New Deal of 1914 that systematically destroyed any attempt at independence any American would have in the latter century. The establishment of the Federal Reserve, the dissolution of modern-day currency and values cannot be lost to time. We must learn these lessons over and over and over again in order to avoid making the same mistakes. Asking yourself exactly how one can move forward in a way is not necessarily conducive to that which sees itself in a realm of time. We find ourselves in situations where we do not see the sun, even though it is right in front of us. Finding a way for you to evolve and think and operate in a different capacity and in a different manner is vital. For well over 100 years ago, your autonomy was taken away from you. It was destroyed. Any chance, any hope, any opportunity that you had to see things from a completely different angle may indeed fall by the wayside. However, that does not mean that you are incapable of building your own foundation of wealth, security, and longevity. There are numerous ways to go about acquiring one's success and one's reprieve, but how each and every situation works is ultimately dependent on how you yourself see in the mirror. This has been your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this has been your Annihilation Announcement. Willkommen, meine Freunde. Guten Morgen, guten Tag und eine gute Nacht. Ist deine Reisende, deine Ausländer, deine Allesfresser, deine Schauspieler und deine Künstler und deine Vernichter. Und ich bin es fast einst. Es ist aus den Tränen. Mein Herz ist gebrochen und ich bin bereit. Und heute ist eine schöne Tage. Today, dear listeners, we are looking into the man known as Charles James Kirk, born on the 14th of October 1993 to his assassination on the 10th of September 2025. This is a man in whom was born in Arlington Heights, Illinois, in the United States of America. This is also the man in whom was raised in a very affluent suburb of Chicago known as Arlington and Prospect Heights. Note that this man was not always an absolutely purely evil, malevolent being. No, it started in his days in high school when he chose to take his ultra-conservative, ultra-elite right-wing values and then chose to cast his opinions, his values, his morals, his stances onto other people, claiming and identifying that his way of thinking was superior, that he had the vision for America of tomorrow, and ultimately taking into account exactly how he approached debate, division, discussion. Some would revere him for how he would go to colleges and universities to debate students, faculty, and anyone in whom was willing to stand in front of the microphone. However, a debate is not a one-way street, dear listeners. No, it is not. When one engages in debate, there is to be a formal structure, a particular itinerary, if you will, a list of points that one will go through bit by bit, moment by moment, piece by piece. However, starting from his high school days, Charlie Kirk was not known for being open to equal opportunity, especially if you look at some of his latter life, how he openly suggested that DEI should be eliminated, that there is no such thing as racism, and there is no such thing as misogyny. These views that he held are synonymous with those of the Alex Jones types, of the Jim Cramer types to a certain degree, as Jim Cramer also has a lot of skeletons in his closet, and we will get to him on a future program one day. But for the purposes of this program, dear listener, understand this, that Charlie Kirk indicated a lot of issues. He had opposition to quite a few significant, progressive, and real life-impacting ideologies. As mentioned earlier, he fervently opposed the Department of Equity and Inclusion. He fervently opposed LGBTQ rights. He is also a believer in the ideology in that abortion, gun control are incorrect. He also absolutely had the audacity to criticize the man in whom made things better for people in the 60s, known as Martin Luther King Jr., taking a stance that is not lost on the current world. The stance that he held as it pertained to the civil rights movement is nothing less than abhorrent and shock-jock-like behavior. His company, his organization, this Turning Point USA, in which he founded, he took time to identify approximately 11,000 opportunities within one mind, according to many, but most purported to be a monthly average of 110 to 125,000 monthly online average listeners. This was a program in which he would spend each and every single day talking about how he and Turning Point USA must break free from the tyranny that is, quote-unquote, assaulting the American way of life. And he tried his very, very best to do everything that he could to sow division, discourse, racism, misogyny in every single conceivable way. And note, you may remember that it was Charlie Kirk who called for someone to bail the man who broke into Nancy Pelosi's home and attacked her husband with a hammer to be released from prison. Who does that, dear listeners? Who openly and actively protests for the release of a man in whom tried to murder a government official? That in and of itself tells you point blank that this man was not a good human being. This man was not for the people, by the people. This man was a charlatan who used his net worth to his advantage to peddle his views upon those in whom were not smart enough to know the difference between deceit and declaration. On the 10th of September 2025, his life, his miserable, pathetic, disgusting, abhorrent life came to an end. He was assassinated on a college ground in Orem, Utah, United States. Shot in the neck. He fell over, and security officials whisked him away, only for him to pass away. Charlie Kirk was not even 40 years old, and people hated him to the point to where they deemed him a threat to every element of American ideology. Someone finally had enough, and they took matters into their own hands. Do we support the eradication, the elimination of any individual or assassinations? No, we vehemently do not. However, we would be lying to you if we told you that Charlie Kirk did not have it coming. In conclusion, dear listeners, Charlie Kirk was an asshole, a charlatan, a heathen, a heretic, an individual in whom tried to use God to his advantage, and in the end, God said, "Back away, not today, disco lady." Until next time, dear listeners, thank you for tuning in today. Take care of yourselves and each other. At the top of today's episode, we promised you a list of the top 5 American beers in which one can find in a gas station or at your local 7-Eleven. Coming in at number 5, we of course have the classic, the legend, Schlitz beer, one of the most smooth and crisp lagers available. Coming in at number 4, we have Yuengling beer, which is an absolutely phenomenal draft, but if you have it in a can, you might want to run away with a plan. Coming in at number 3, we of course have one of the most delicious American beers, and that would be Samuel Adams Boston Lager. Coming in at number 2, we have Miller High Life, and coming in at number 1, the favorite beer of all white trash Americans, Pabst Blue Ribbon. What are your top 5 favorite American beers, dear listeners? Feel free to comment below or email us at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. Today's joke has been brought to you by the Cleric of Chaos. Married individuals, how beautiful is the foundation and the tradition of marriage? Oh, it's that bad. Oh, okay. If you're looking for a very easy way to remove yourself from this earthly plane, all you have to do is simply tell your wife that she looks like her mother, multiplied by 2. Rest assured, the funeral will be in a closed casket view. The very notion that Charles Kirk was anything but a divisive, ridiculous, over-embellishing, partially evil human being is not lost on the current state of the world. Now, of course, you will have your apologists and your empathizers in whom attempt to say, "What about the family? Why isn't it good to care about them?" It's simple. You take into consideration every single thing that man did. You look at what his career was before he was struck down by destiny, and you understand that when you make a career out of being a racist, bigoted, misogynistic, homophobic, and transphobic person, and ultimately putting yourself on a pedestal, utilizing tax money to go to universities and colleges to debate students who 90% of before said time only knew of you through the popular media, you know full well that you are not a Christ-like figure. You are a charlatan. Charlie Kirk was not a good man. Charlie Kirk was not a decent human being. He was a very evil, twisted, and selfish man. Operating under the guise of philanthropy and enlightenment, this man viewed himself as a modern-day American messiah. And for the entities in which disagreed with him the most, it is quite clear that if you become emotional during a discussion with someone of this caliber, my dear friends, you have already lost. For what they seek is not discussion. What they seek is not debate. What they seek is to enforce their will, their mindsets, their particular ways of life and thought onto as many people as humanly possible. Charlie Kirk was no different. He was one of the most vile, filthy, disturbing, disgusting, despicable human beings to ever walk the earth. And any of his ardent and hardcore supporters are individuals in whom vehemently and ardently refuse to see the light. And that light being that this man is nothing more than a false prophet, another man who tried to make himself into a modern-day Jesus Christ. And what happened, dear listeners? Well, we all know the story behind that. It's just sometimes you have to understand it's best not to stick your neck out in certain situations. Until next time, dear listeners, take care of yourselves and each other. The Cheating Death Podcast is brought to you by Nacht and Lebens, CRDVC, Cleric of Chaos, and where you can find all podcasts on all platforms. If you'd like to support the program, you may do so by buying merchandise, purchasing a cameo, or buying us a coffee at the links in the episode's description. And if you choose to do so, we thank you very much for your support. Please ensure that you head on over to Instagram.com/backroomcomedyclub and follow, like, share, and subscribe. Head on over to 814 Bloor Street West anytime, Wednesday through Sunday. 2 show times every day, 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. and engage and entertain yourself with a delightful set of comedians, the likes of which this world has never seen, the beauty and benevolence of their absolute hilarity. I also strongly implore that you follow our very funny friend, Darren Burke, over at Instagram.com/DarrenBurkeComedy, our friend Alex Burke at Instagram.com/AlexBurkeComedy, as well as each and every single one of the most talented, gifted, and skilled comedians, entrepreneurs, professional wrestlers, associate directors, and producers of the program, and all of their social medias can be found at the links in the episodes and in the podcast's description. Head on over today, subscribe, like, and share. Feel free to follow the Cleric of Chaos on youtube.com/@ClericofChaos. We are trying to reach 100 subscribers before the end of the summer, and there is still a bit of time to go. So head on over there, drop a like, share, and subscribe, and comment on any one of our videos, and tell us you say hey. And dear listeners, if you know anyone in whom is going through an emergency calamity, whether it be gambling, abuse, substance withdrawal, or domestic violence, please have them consult the telephone numbers listed within the podcasts and in the episode's description as well. You should not be alone in your time of calamity, and there is support available. If you or anyone you know are looking at adopting a playful puppy or a cute kitten, please visit your local animal adoption rescue center, as they are in dire need of your support, and head on over to yummypets.com/voice, create an account, click the button every day for animals within shelters to be given an opportunity to receive 330 pounds of kibble at the end of the month. Dear listeners, you know full well by now how tumultuous and how chaotic this realm can be, and just how each and every single day there is an area of opportunity for each of us to grow, to nurture ourselves in a way to where we find ourselves in a position where life can indeed be as beautiful as we see it. And that is one of the reasons why when you focus on your dreams and on your goals, and you put the work and you put the effort in, you will most assuredly, eventually, and inevitably succeed. And remember, we're pulling for you. We're all in this together.